Hello and welcome, or welcome back if you're a returning viewer to the channel. WB here, and in this video we are continuing through our Nmap series by implementing scanning techniques. As always, I ask if you enjoy what you see up on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment or two down below. Check out the description for a link to our community Discord server where things like notes, community support, as well as the ability to communicate with me can continue after the video ends. Alright everybody, let's go ahead. Let's dive into a demonstration on implementing scanning techniques inside of Linux using Nmap. Alright everybody, here we are on my desktop, and for this demonstration and walkthrough of scan techniques, we're going to use our Metasploitable machine. If you haven't seen that video, check the link in the description for the Metasploitable video. I show you how to get VMware Workstation Pro installed, up and running, and download Metasploitable. That needs to be powered on, so just locate VMware Workstation. You can right click on the VM and choose Startup Guest. I've already started up the machine. Remember, you can log in as MSF admin with the same for the password MSF admin. Let's clear the screen here. We're going to run ifconfig, because when we run our Nmap scan, we're going to do much the same thing we did in the host discovery video. We're going to use a range of IP addresses as our target, and we can see that our Metasploitable VM 192.168.44.128 with a /24 network, we're going to use this, and we're going to basically do a network range, and we'll have our VM right there in the middle of that network range to help with our demonstration. So let's go ahead. Let's switch over to our Ubuntu machine. Notice that I've got a couple of things going on here. I've got a few extra terminals open, and this is going to come in handy because we have some documentation that we've been building as we go through this series, and it is here, and we've looked at some of these other options here in our host discovery. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start in, and we will start essentially adding to this document. Now, what are we going to add here? We're going to talk a little bit about some scanning techniques that you, by the way, can, techniques, try that again, good spelling helps. All right, and what we're going to do here for the very first one is we're going to use something known as a TCP SYN scan, and that is a dash here. It's going to be a lowercase s for our scan types. In fact, most of the ones that we're going to be talking about here are going to have the lowercase s. So I want you to be aware of that as we go through here, and especially for your exam purposes, it might come in handy on the exam. So we're going to also do an uppercase S, and this is going to be our TCP SYN scan, sometimes known, also called a stealth scan. Stealth scan. All right. So what is this type of scan doing here? All right. Well, what this does is this is going to be very fast. It's going to attempt to be stealthy, and it is going to send SYN packets, but it's not going to complete the handshake, right? So I want you to keep that in mind. So without completing the TCP handshake. All right. Now, what this is, something that we need to keep in mind here is that this is going to require root. I'm running all of these as root, but you need to understand that this is going to require root privileges. And this is a little harder to detect by IDS, IPS. All right. So let's go ahead and save that in our documentation. And we'll exit out of that. Let's clear our screen. let's go back over here and to our first terminal so that we can run this scan. Keep in mind, as I've mentioned, as your scans get more and more complex, you are going to see that they could take a little bit of time. So we're going to run sudo nmap. We're going to run the dash lowercase s, uppercase s for the SYN scan. And remember a few different ways that you can define your targets. Right, I could do the entire network, right, and that is going to, in this case, with the /24, that's going to give us 256, possibilities, 254 potential nodes. So it could take a while depending on the complexity of the scan. Keep in mind, we could also define a range, which is what we're going to do here. As well, or I could just define the target. And again, truth be told, this is our metasploitable target right here in the IP for that machine for me. Keep in mind, yours might be different. So what I'm going to do, knowing that 128's there, I'm going to do 120 through 129. All right. Now, like I said, could take a little bit to run these scans, but what we're saying is let's do a SYN scan, all right? And let's go ahead and elevate the privileges on this. And one of the things I want you to keep in mind, too, is as these scans run, that one did not take long at all, all right? It found some information. If it takes a while, depending on the length of the scan, in fact, let's go ahead and clear this. And let's change our scan now. Let's go 254 nodes, right? Let's do the whole network and define the 24-bit CIDR notation. And let's go ahead and hit enter. And now here's what I want you to see here. Notice that as I hit enter, it's doing, right, a ping scan here. Notice as we hit enter, it is taking a lot longer, right? Because now what we're doing is we're pinging 256 or potentially 254 nodes here. So it takes a little bit longer. Looks like it is speeding up. There we go. All right. So as you can see here, right, that helps us out. We can also do an entire network as our target. Let's go ahead and clear our screen here. All right. And you can hear my computer balking at me here. Let me go ahead and put that on mute. Apologize ahead of time. And let's go ahead and let's switch back over to our document here. All right. And let's go ahead and let's talk about the next one that I want you to be familiar with here in scanning techniques. All right. And that is going to be the TCP Connect scan. All right, this is it takes a little bit longer, it's slower, it's kind of easy to detect, so you do want to keep that in mind, and that is going to be, again, the lowercase s and the uppercase T, and that is a TCP Connect scan. All right, so with this, one of the things we want to keep in mind is that it is going to complete the full TCP handshake. Again, and for that reason, a little bit more complex, or slower, I should say. It will work with raw socket privileges. Or, in other words, non-root. And the final attribute we want to know of this scan technique is that it is, like I already mentioned, kind of slower and easier to detect. Right? So let's go ahead and let's hop back over here. I'm going to save our documentation. Let's hop back over here and let's go ahead, and I noticed that is a little bit hard to see. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. If you're like me and got 4 eyes, might help you out a little bit. So now what we're going to do is, instead of running sudo, right, we're going to do nmap space and then a dash s uppercase T, and we're going to define that range. Now, again, because it is slow, I want to kind of speed up the time it'll take, so I'm going to reduce this to just a few IP addresses. Remember, .128 essentially is where our Metasploitable host is. But we could do this across the, targeting the whole network or a network range like I've showed you, or specific target, and we'll go ahead and run this. Now notice it's not really giving me a hard time. It didn't require any sudo privileges. It didn't seem like it was too slow here, but if again, let's clear the screen here because I want you to be able to see what we're doing. But keep in mind you can add a little bit more time to this if you are doing an entire network. Notice that that's not too bad, but you can see, and I'm kind of hitting enter so I can see what the progress is, right? So it takes a little bit longer depending on how many targets you have defined. Go ahead and get out of that. So that's the TCP Connect scan. Now let's continue on in our documentation here, and the next one that I want you to be aware of is the TCP ACK scan. Now this one is going to be dash, if you haven't guessed, little s, uppercase A, right? Some of you probably already guessed that out there, right? And this is the TCP ACK scan, all right? So what does this do? All right, this is going to send TCP packets with the ACK flag set, right? Now what is it doing? It is acting as an existing connection. I will tidy these notes up after the fact, right? So it is acting as an existing connection. One of the things to keep in mind about this is that this scan technique, if you will, is, or I should say not is, does not try to establish a full TCP handshake. All right, it's a little bit different here. All right, that's what I need you to keep in mind. Now, what is this useful? It can identify, helps to identify stateful firewalls. All right, because it is used for firewall rule mapping. All right, so that is the next one here. Let's go ahead. We'll save this to our documentation here. Let's switch back over. We're just going to go ahead and use the up arrow to save us a little bit of time here. I'm going to define the same range, but I'm going to change that uppercase T to an uppercase A, and we'll go ahead and run this. Notice the difference between what we ran before, not requiring root. This one, on the other hand, saying, wait a second here, you forgot the magic word, and that is please. All right, so we'll go ahead and run our super user do. All right, and notice it said all 1,000 scans have been, or all 1,000 ports have been scanned, and it looks like some are unfiltered, right? So we've got our one host that's up here. Next one, let's go ahead. Let's talk about one that is known. We'll switch back over here because I also want you to know about another one, and that is the TCP Window scan, and that's a dash lowercase s, uppercase W. Adding this to our documentation, TCP Window scan. All right, now why would we use something like this, right? It is similar to the TCP, or excuse me, I'm sorry, the ACK scan, but it inspects the TCP window size. All right, now why might we use something like this, right? The interesting thing is that sometimes systems use different window sizes for open versus closed ports, and Nmap can use this to infer what the port state is. All right, so let's go ahead and add that to our notes, right? I want you to remember some systems use different window sizes for open versus closed ports. All right, Nmap uses this difference to infer the port state. All right, so we'll add that to our documentation. Again, we'll switch back over here. All right, and what we can do here is we're just changing, using our up arrow to an uppercase W and rerunning this. Now I do want you to keep in mind, hopefully, this can help you out. However, this one it's not really that accurate, so it's not commonly used. Now there is another one that we can do too. All right, and this will be the last one, and then we'll go into some additional Nmap options in the next video, because we got quite a few. All right. So next one is going to be -S, and then it's going to be uppercase N, and this is a null scan. All right. And with the null scan, this will send TCP packets without any flags set. All right. This is a little bit stealthier than a SYN scan, because it doesn't initiate the handshake, or the initial handshake, I should say. Okay. All right, so now that you've seen how bad my typing is, let's switch back over, and we're going to do the same thing. Again, kind of switching back over, and by now you should be able to follow along fairly quickly in this. Pardon my typing, but I do want you to have the notes and know what's going on here in the background, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to run this scan. All right, now with this scan, I do want you to keep in mind it's useful for things like firewall evasion, and maybe you have some kind of RFC compliance testing. Keep in mind it's one like many that we're doing here that could potentially and probably will trigger an IDS or an IPS alert. So you want to make sure that you're using these only in authorized environments. And this is more for training purposes, as I want you all that are studying out there to have a passing familiarity with the different options in Nmap scan, and that's why we're putting together a series on Nmap. We've got a lot of other videos coming up, which will also talk about some additional scan techniques coming up, because there are some ones that we really didn't cover here that are also very cool, whether they're used or not. We do have a fin scan that we want to talk about, an Xmas scan, where we're going to basically light everything up like a Christmas tree. But with that said, everybody, thank you for taking the time and joining me in this video.